And what I would say to young people present today, it is about engagement in family, in community, in country, and then in the world. And we have to engage. We can't stand aside and stand outside and say that's none of my business. We must constantly look at ways at how we encourage people to develop leadership skills. The most important one is affirmation, self-confidence and self-esteem. And the most important, I think, aspect of any curriculum at the earliest years in education has to be that idea of self-esteem and self-respect. From that stems a lot. From that will come the courage to stand up for your ideas and your principles, to not always go with the herd and go with the group mentality. The most important skill of all, which is the hardest one for all of us, is to listen and to perfect the art of listening. Not everyone might agree, but you have to work on that very hard. Because we think we know best at times. We don't always know best. And listening is very, very important. And tolerance. And then above all, the capacity to try and bring the room with you or to get a consensus. And consensus is not weakness. And I think that's very important. Some people mistake leadership with your capacity to drive your message home. It's not. Real leadership is listening, really taking on board what people are saying, and out of that exercise then developing a consensus that can lead to action, delivery and outcomes. I often think I was very fortunate to have the life experience I've had through the presentation, Brothers in Turner's Cross, and the very kind of happy 70s we had growing up in that environment, which allowed us the space to reflect, to think, and just to enjoy life, but in a way that was fully participative in the community around us.
Today more than ever, we need fellowship, we need support, and we need community. In this sense, the Mardyke House here and the presentation community is such a blessing. What is at the heart of my faith is a personal relationship with Jesus. Pope Benedict says that Christianity is primarily an encounter with a person. What does that mean? It means that when you come to know Jesus in a personal way, you cannot help but love him and serve him. Our faith calls us to action, to serve our neighbour, to reach out to those most in need, to respond with Christian leadership to the great issues of our time: war and the struggle for peace, poverty brought about by the energy crisis, the climate emergency, and the crisis of mental health illnesses in Ireland.
Mardyke House itself has been a great place of welcome and hosted many events for us in the diocese over the last 3 years since I've come here. And in many ways, I think what kind of makes here different than other places and spaces that we use, it is that we have a living faith community that's here. And so you're not just coming into a building, you're actually coming into a home that is centered on a life of prayer and a life of hospitality. And so for that, we're really grateful. And just to see the renewed centre, the refurbished centre, just see the possibilities that are there. I mean, if we could act justly, love tenderly, and walk humbly with God, what a world we would have. In my time as a young person, faith and action were very much connected. Sometimes we put faith at one side and the action, and we need to bring those two things together. And that's a challenge for me as Bishop. It's a thing I'd like to see us more and more, that our young people, as well as saying their prayers and being very much at the heart of a life of prayer, that brings them out to actually a life of service to build a better world. And that's something that we've seen here as part of the LEAF project.